pressure opponents, and they're doing something that looks very, very hard and only they can do, we naturally, for some reason, often assign them like all other aspects of the game that might seem easier. Like, oh, well, they could play like, standard champions that aren't like that. They could play a default star. That's where it feels like he's kind of had more of an issue, because Peanut, or Hoonie of the Jungle, as I call him, apparently has to totally destroy you, or just his impact's not as good. Like, he can't just be a normal jungler. What is the prognosis for Peanut right now, Mark?
I think this is a time where Peanut is adjusting his style of play to be more long-term meta resilient. I personally had problems with the way that Peanut was playing last season because I saw it as something that could collapse if the metagame actually shifted to a more tanky jungle style. And that was always a concern. We kept saying that in the broadcast. Like, okay, Peanut's doing great, but what happens if you can't just carry everybody with Kitrid and with Nidalee? What does that world look like for the Rocks Tigers when they can't play this aggressively and just out-skirmish everybody early on with high-damage champions? And they've completely 180. Peanut, who was the first Blood King of the entire league last season, has dropped pretty precipitously in his personal statistics for First Blood. I will check on that real quick. Right now, he's at 29% First Blood contribution. And last season, he was, I think, top of the league in that statistic. Which is, yeah, he was 66%, so his number of First Bloods that he's been getting has been halved, which is, that's a big change. His warding has gone way up, and I think that ultimately this is going to make Peanut a better League of Legends player on the whole, but it is going to cause him to struggle in the near term.
Okay. Still, Rocks Tigers are one of the best teams in the league, looking very strong. What is the overall strength of Rocks Tigers, Achilles?
I think it's this same thing that they talked about in last split. I think that it's still just that they respond to each other like pretty much on the dot. Like as soon as somebody says like, okay, TP here, they just go for it. Like they trust in each other and they react very much like we've been seeing from like Ruler on Samsung. Like he just responds. Like the team needs him there and he's there. All of Rock Tigers has been like that for a while. He's struggling at the start of the split because he just seemed like it slipped a little bit, but now they've gotten back to that point where it's like, okay, we're gonna dive bottom, like Smeb TP in and like doesn't hit it. Like doesn't ask a question, doesn't say like, oh, how many are there? Like he just trusts that the team, trusts that his bot lane knows that they can pull off the dive. He comes in for it, and then they just start sweeping through. I think that's their biggest strength. They're friends with each other. So like even the environment like back at the team house is going to be really good, whereas a lot of other teams, especially when struggling, you would think that those relationships start falling apart because flames starts arising between the team members. Rocks teams at the start, losing the first couple of games and looking rough, they've still kind of persevered, been a good unit and friends with each other. You can tell that they're always just having fun with the game, even when they fuck up or something. Like they still are enjoying the game, and I think that culmination of just being able to actually have fun and then trust each other is really what gives them success. Plus, they're also just really fucking good.
Sure. Is Smeb clear-cut the best top laner in LCK?
I'd
right
say
now,
that
yes. In this meta, yes.
The only thing that would make me
think
question
Sunday
that is Someday.
I think Sumday's the better all-around player because if we look at Sumday's tank play, it really is special. Like it's very strong. So, but in this meta for carry tops, I think Smeb has been absolutely excellent.
I would inch it out a bit to Smeb, but I think that Someday is very much on his heels, because even Smeb in tank meta was doing really well, especially with champions like Poppy. Just stealing Barons, getting solo kills constantly in lane. Even tank Echo outplaying people in like 1v2 scenarios, coming up with double kills. I think that he has shown a prowess on both sides, but I'd say that they're pretty neck and neck, but Smeb going to be inching out just a little bit above Someday.
Okay. See, I feel like Doa missed a trick there. He needs to up his writing game because with all those games of Poppy last split, especially people like Expression who just spam the fuck out of it, he should have been able to work in a Game of Thrones milking the Poppy type reference at some point during the split. That should have been primary playbook material there. It's an anesthetic quality. Should have gone with that. So I'm just saying, though, step your game up, mate. It can't all just be about Transformers. We're on to your references now. We're starting to get that playbook going, mate. You've got to keep it fresh. You've got to be like a rapper, you know. You can't be going back on your old mixtape material on your new album. You've got to come up with new stuff, okay? So, okay. What would be the counterpoint as we go forwards in the season that might keep Rox from winning? Because you see, that's the problem, Achilles. My heart's Rox Tigers has become my personal Katie Rolster to Monte Cristo. I keep believing every season that they're going to do it this time. Finally, they will crush the heretic SK Telecom. It will this time. Smeb will obviously, who is my like new vicarious way of believing that Flame's still a really good player. I just pretend that he's Flame basically. I have that old theme tune I used to have in my head that like, let's watch a Flame game, I love you. And then anyway, so we're watching Smeb play. He's doing awesome. He's super sick. He's definitely better than that Someday guy. I can always wait for that guy to fail. So he does fail. Ha 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 ha. It's horrible when your favourite player fails, isn't it? Now it's time for the finals. Oh great, I'm sure Smeb will win, be the MVP. This will go great. And it never happens, okay? So just let me down easy, Achilles. When it doesn't happen, what would be the main reason that will stop it from happening this time?
I think that right now the thing that would upset them the most would be another massive meta shift.
Well, those never happen, so don't worry about those just before the playoffs.
Or before Worlds.
Yeah.
With zero competitive games on the patch that Worlds is being played on. Really good job last year, Riot. Great patching system.
Yes, so I think that would be the biggest thing. I know that they've talked about loosely. Obviously, we don't know like when it's going to happen, but Assassin meta is going to, or Assassin is going to be the next big rework that they want to bring in, and that could impact them a little bit. And
has been slain.
It does move away from a carry top lane. Smeb, he's still very strong, as I mentioned, on tanks, but he's going to be not as strong as he would be on, you know, being able to play this Aurelia, the Rumble that he's shown. I think that's a big pick for him, but I think it's really going to be a massive meta shift that would kind of disrupt the Rox Tigers, because I think that's the only thing that's really going to allow for them to not continue excelling in the current state of things. If AD carry suddenly gets shaken up and we go back to like Jinx and Tristana, we'll pray to be able to succeed on those, instead of having a lot of success on picks that are poke heavier utility, like the Ashe and the Jhin, opening up with the Jhin Crystal Arrow, allowing for the team to get on top of them, using the curtain call to blow out members. If it has to be a more aggressive, in-your-face AD carry like the Jinx, very upfront kite heavy, how is he going to perform on that? I don't know. So if we shift back to something like that, I think that could upset Rock. Right now, though, I think they're in an excellent spot. I think they're going to continue to move up the standings and probably retake that first place spot that KT just kind of plucked.
Okay. Yeah, it's important to look at the drafts too when you talk about the Tigers, because in this game, their games against SK Telecom was pretty early on in the season, and they had one of the worst drafts ever. I mean, they were just absolutely... The fact that they did the Vladimir Swain thing twice in a row, I think they seriously misread the meta, and made a mistake. That was all bad. It was all bad. So they had some lows when it came to, I think, their coaching staff. Nofe is normally very good at identifying strong picks. Had a bit of a hiccup there, and so I think that was a big part of their losses. Also, again, the tank meta, the carry meta coming back certainly does suit Smeb quite well. So I hope the Tigers come back. I think the biggest thing has been Cry this season for them, because when we looked at the losses the Rox Tigers always had in the finals to SKT, the common factor was Kuro, who was so great during the regular season. Regular leader in total kills, contributing a lot to the team. When he plays against Faker, he is terrible. Every single time. He just chokes massively against Faker. And I think that them having a player like Cry now, where they have some Kuro choke insurance in a final match, if they have to go with another mid laner, because throughout Kuro's entire career, when it's on Najim's sword, getting dumpstered by Faker, and that famous like Ori versus Yasuo outplay that everybody has seen from Faker in the NLB finals, like this is. They had to get something to overcome Kuro's mental block, and at least there's another option on the team now for them to go to.
But I mean, not only that though, but if things don't improve in the jungle for SK Telecom, I think that does give a big edge to Rox Tigers because they can utilize Peanut to out-pressure Faker. I know that Kuro in the 1v1 will lose, but if Blank and Bengi are continuously failing and not able to create pressure, then Peanut will be able to just get Kuro ahead, at least on paper, get Kuro ahead, and then have Faker just be, at least go even with him and have him be close to a non-factor. Unless he gets something massive that he can make plays on, like the Azir, that he still likes to go to. But I think that does give them innately a bit more of an edge. If they played against SK Telecom today, I think that would be the thing that helps them win.
But that's what I thought too about the finals in the spring season, was that Peanut was going to absolutely take a dump on Blank. But what happened was Peanut also was one of the major choking factors in the finals in the spring season. So
Peanuts have tried to be a major choking factor.
that's true.
Keep going.
But
Don't let that stop you.
I didn't see that same level of aggression from Peanut in the finals. Shut up, cat. I haven't seen that same aggression from Peanut in the finals that I saw in the season. So while I would normally agree with you in pushing the shove in the spring, it wasn't Peanut showing it. It was Blank showing it. And that was, I think, a big surprise.
So the time has arrived, okay? I've built up to it. I didn't want to just jump right in. It's like Game of Thrones seasons. You don't just go with the best episode straight out the gate. You're going to really build your way up to it. And then, crucially, you should try to usually have an episode where it's really good and then it goes downhill from there and everything just resolves in the most boring, predictable way possible. So, along those lines, it's time to talk about KT Rolster. So, this could be the time. But here's the caveat. The only teams that have beaten KT Rolster is Rox Tigers and SK Telecom, who they definitely won't have to go through to win the actual league. So, what do you think of KT right now?
They're back doing KT things. They have weird, wonderful, unique strategies. We've seen them play the Jhin very well. They're coordinated as a team. One thing that is very interesting about KT when I was doing my research the other day is that they're one of the actual most meta-immune teams in the league. Do they have a star player, is the question. It is Sunday, but when we look at Sunday's performance, he's great in all these different metas, which is one of the reasons why I say they're meta-immune. The other factor is they have basically even damage distribution, which is actually pretty unique for a professional team, that they tend to stay very close together in percentage of team's damage. What this means is that Sunday is higher than normal, and Fly is usually an arrow or a bit average or slightly below average. But it does make it so they were basically identical at 25%, 25%, 25% in the spring season. It has skewed a little bit more. There's about a percentage and a half difference this time around. But any meta that you put KT in, they're not going to get hurt by. It's not like they have this one big carry that they're super reliant on and they can't adjust if the meta shifts to a top lane carry or mid lane carry or whatever. It just means that they're sort of good in all metas, but never, I think, great. If that makes any sense.
Okay. This is their opportunity to be great. I mean, they've been doing really well. Arrow's been stepping up his game. Fly playing way more aggressively than ever.
But Arrow's been stepping up, yes, but Arrow is still statistically, and when we look at his play, I would say he's sort of just an average Korean AD carry.
Well, I mean, the joke would be he's still the second best AD carry on KT Rolster, right? So.
Right.
Well, but I mean, even you mentioned it, though, he's a very economical AD carry. Very good at that.
doesn't take any resources. So if you look at the percentage of the team gold that he takes versus his damage output, yeah, he looks great. So he's like a low economy player. That doesn't mean that he's going to be as big of a threat of actually carrying the game as a player like Bang or as a player like Prey. So I think that's the problem with KT, is that they lack the ability to sort of go to the next level with a star carry player. Like, they don't have that person. But what they do to make up for it is have excellent teamwork, excellent coordination, and really weird strategies when they play. The only really soul team, Zillion ban like all fucking season so far, because nobody can actually handle the Zillion when it comes out, and they're the only team that does that. So they've been in an interesting place.
Yeah, it did make it through for Jenner, but it didn't go for it. It didn't go for the Zillion.
Yeah,
but
it's gonna come back though.
yeah, it's an inevitability. Once people actually figure out how to ban against KT in the current meta, I'm sure they'll pull out the Zillion, and everybody will be like, "Oh wait, that thing exists."
Yeah, forgot about it.
And then they lose. But, I don't know. I have high hopes for it. I mean, they're buffed because Summer starting off really well. The meta's great for Someday, and Score's been doing really well getting Someday ahead. But like you said, even with their even outside of the picks, like their cheeky plays that they've made are just awesome, and like not many other teams do that. Someday just sitting in the brush waiting for all of I forget who Samsung. Because I think with all of them, they like move forward and then hit just TP top, or if they just rotate top and they kill the top laner. Like that stuff is awesome. So they're still like coming out with these like new unique plays that nobody else is doing to get themselves ahead. And I think with the combination of Score and Someday, they're in a good spot, because like, I mean, I'll agree, like Arrow's not amazing, he's not Bang, but he is very consistent, and as long as they can have that consistency and he's not feeding, and Fly as well, you know, they're not, as long as they're not feeding out of the ADC in mid positions, Someday and Score can just take hold of the game.
Isn't that if we add this all up, though, isn't that the concern once we get ahead and we go to, let's say they go to the playoffs with the top seed, is that, probably, I've noticed this in general sports, probably the worst position to be in is when you're a team that like, the style's working really well, like you've got a really good strategical like grip on the game, everyone's, it's a real team, we're all just working together. The problem with that is when you get like deep in the playoffs, if any player starts to show or have issues, that's where usually like the star player can carry you through. So like, isn't the concern here, if we were talking about Kuro with Box, like what happens if Fly shits the bed in the playoffs?
Well, hopefully Someday can carry.
Someday has to carry. Yeah. I mean, if somebody gets on something like the Aurelia to get the head, or even the Trundle, like he's just hard carried with that champion many times. So it would come down to him, because Arrow's probably not going to be the one that puts the game on his back and carries it to victory. Score maybe could, depending on what he's on. But it really is just Someday would be in the limelight all of a sudden.
Obviously, the method will change, but if we were in a world where they still play every game, Sol, all that stuff, couldn't these champions be like half decent to stay safe in the lane and make Fly not have issues?
Fly's Victor is actually quite good.
Yeah, his Victor's really good. And again, he's not even playing it defensively.
Yeah, his strength is in the pocket picks, right? Because he just creates these weird scenarios where you have to ban champions against them that you wouldn't ban otherwise, or you have this threat that they're going to play in a very strange way that you actually have a hard time practicing for, because other teams simply do not play the same kind of League of Legends as KT does.
So in general for this team, does Score still like define the style of the team?
Score and Someday. Score has been actually really excellent, and that's where they've gotten their power, I think, a lot this season, is that ever since the top lane meta took hold, we've seen an increase in Score's desire to be ganking the top side and in making those advantages appear for Someday. And Someday actually has, I think, like a 40+% first blood statistic right now. 45%. Smed has 38%, but for the most part, we're talking about 10-20% more first bloods for Someday than other top laners. So that's a huge differential right there to work with. And I think that that's one of their biggest strengths right now, is that they have a very good read on the meta, and they know where score needs to be on the map to make an effect.
Okay, Achilles.
He's in the right place.
Pretending Monty doesn't exist for a moment here. What chances do you actually think Katie Rust has for the whole season?
Your team has
do you have a layer on this right now? Like similar to the Watch Tanks, is this an open chance to potentially win a season with LCK?
I think that there is a chance. I think that they're, at least in my opinion, right now, I'd say that they're pretty much guaranteed top 3. I fully expect them to go to Worlds. Whether or not they're going as the champions, I don't know. I think that there is an opportunity, but it's going to come down to, will the meta change? Because if the meta changes, I think that they'll still be in a good spot, and that could upset Rock's Tigers. And then does SK Telecom start returning to form? If SKT comes back in, I feel like we might just have another scenario where they play off in the semi-final, and all of a sudden it's a 3-0 for SK Telecom. In case what happened? How did we get here? But
Fakers like I happened to. You ever heard of me before? Don't call it a combo. Okay.
Yeah, barring something like that, which we'll know within the first couple weeks, I guess, as far as SK Telecom, whether or not they're going to slip up and fall further down the standings, or if they're going to maintain like that top 4 spot that they're in right now. Barring that and the meta swap, I think the KT roster probably end up in second or third place.
So Monty,
But it is possible.
Monty, I've just been saving this topic for the right time, okay? So discuss like place, you know, that everything's looking great, and then maybe this could be better. Maybe it could. I'm not gonna say it. So it's ESPN, okay, so
How many of these has there been?
listen, guys, good news. Flex Tigers, number 1. Number 2, Gaming. Bold. Put the Chinese team in there against Solid Cup. Okay, very bold. Number 3, TSM. Turn down. Number 3, TSM. Number 4, KT Rolster. So, respond, please. Number 3 team in the world. What are you thinking?
Well, I'm just thinking of Monster versus Someday.
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't know, where do you start with this one? It's not a good look for ESPN. The odds that this team is that high up in the world is just very low. I think the TSM is a good team. They probably deserve a spot in the top 10, but I don't think you could reasonably put them in the top 3 right now. That does seem a bit overbold.
Oh, what's funny is the actual blurb for the TSM part even says, is TSM, is top 5 in the world a bit too